Hi there. So we're just going to first get out of the way the fact that you are not the Stephen Graham who produced Adolescence.
It's a nice mistake to be. I'll answer to that.
If you lapse into a Cockney accent, I don't think any of us will, believe that anymore. But anyway, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, because you have a long history in production.
I do.
As a producer, I should say.
I'm the director of the New Mexico Film Office, and I've been in that job about 6 months. So that part of it is pretty new. However, I've been a producer for 15 years in the industry for about, we'll just say 30-ish, something like that. So primarily as a producer in television, in Los Angeles for about 20 years, and I've been in New Mexico. So yeah, primarily in television, and have been. I grew up in New Mexico, and we had the opportunity to move back a few years ago, and the industry is so robust there that I really didn't miss a beat. I was able to continue working in production in New Mexico. So it's been great.
So let's talk about production, because this is a really big topic of conversation in the industry today. Two things going on, right? One is that production has basically left California, chasing tax incentive dollars and other services. And there's a big move now to bring it back to California. And many big productions are now, I would say not many, most big productions are happening in London. And every day you hear another announcement here in Cannes about some other big production facility. So what is it that New Mexico, what are you doing on behalf of New Mexico to say, no, this is where you should be making your movie or your television show?
Well, I think that's a question across the country. We're asking the same questions that California is asking, that Louisiana and Georgia are asking. So it's a double whammy. I think there's been a contraction in the industry after the double strikes, and I think we maybe haven't completely recovered from COVID. And then, the streaming, the consolidations maybe. I feel like that's taken a minute for all the companies to figure out what they're doing. I think also, unfortunately, the strike allowed them to learn how, look at other places and find other places to do production. So it's a contraction, but it's also the work that is being done, as you mentioned, is being done in the UK, in Australia, all around the world. So we're feeling the same thing that California is feeling. And we are, there's a few things that we bring to the table. It's what we've always offered in some ways. We have a great incentive. We have a 25 to 40% cash or rebatable tax incentive. But we also have landscapes that you're not going to find anywhere else.
Right.
And the other thing we bring to it is we've had this incentive for more than 20 years. We've built a very strong crew base. We have great facilities. We have studios, stages across the state. And we're at least a dozen crews deep with world-class people ready to work. So that's what
How
we're
many
doing.
productions are being shot in New Mexico a year at the moment?
I haven't looked at this week's sheet, but it's 10-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. Movies or shows. There is a series, Dark Winds, is currently shooting now. There are 3 series that have been shot recently. They're on hiatus. 4, sorry, so a total of 5. And then a pilot is shooting right now that we hope that'll get picked up. So this time last year, we were probably, I think, 20 productions deep, something like that. So we're, it's down.
It's down, yeah, right.
But we're on track for the summer and for the fall. So we hope that's picking up.
Let's talk a little more specifically about the incentives, right? Because how many people here do we have any producers in the room? I know we have a couple producers down here, yeah. Because really, it's about if you're a producer with your producer hat on, it's really a lot about adding up the dollars and squeezing as much as you possibly can out of every dollar, right?
Absolutely.
So when you say 25 to 40%, talk about what's the 25? How do you get to 40%?
Sure. It's based on what we call qualified spend, which is similar across other incentives. So jobs or rentals or purchases made in New Mexico. So basically anything that has sales tax on it that qualifies. So we encourage the productions to come and buy things there and do all of their prep and everything there. And so that's just across the board. You get 25% on that. And then we have a number of uplifts. So there's a 5% uplift for series. So if you're doing a television series, or if you're at a sound stage. So those, usually if you're doing a series, you're at a sound stage anyway. But there are features and other productions that use sound stages. They get a 5% bump for that. You also get a 10% uplift if you shoot outside of Santa Fe or Albuquerque. There's a zone, basically.
Oh, really?
It's called a rural uplift, but it's sort of a misnomer. It's our second largest city is Las Cruces in the south. It's outside of that zone. And so you can get to, if you're shooting at a sound stage in Las Cruces, for instance, you can get to 40%. Or if you're shooting a series in a rural area. And then on top of that, we have other job training programs that
Really?
is very unique to New Mexico. It's called the Film Crew Advancement Program. And with that, if you as a production agree to hire someone in a position that's higher than what they've done in the past, say you have an
assistant director or an assistant
right,
sound person or
a makeup artist who's ready to be key or a grip who's ready to be best or whatever. If you hire them in that position, we know you're taking a chance on someone who's you're lifting up. We'll help with their salary. So we'll subsidize half of their salary up to 1,040 hours, which is usually enough for a feature and gets you a good way through a series. And I think that's one of the reasons we have such a strong crew base, because we've been doing that, as I said, 20 years. And when people move up, other people move in, those people move up, and we've grown a very strong base there because of that. In addition to that, we also there's a Project Soundstage we do to bring veterans who are interested in getting into the industry. And
You mean ex-military?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so we'll subsidize their salaries as well. So
That's very cool. So has it mainly been the strikes combined with COVID that have been the hit to you, or has it been competition from other places? Because we've written about this quite a lot, that London has basically become the place where big productions are going, and it's not only money. It's not, obviously they've built expertise over the decades, but they've really thought about all the different aspects. So has that? Do you feel like that's where you might be losing productions to? Because honestly, if I'm making a Western, I don't know why I would be making it in London. I'm going to make it in the Southwest of the United States, right?
Yeah, we're very competitive nationally. We do very well against the other states. And in a lot of cases, that comes down, like you're talking about, it comes down to what kind of film you're making or what kind of series you're making. Westerns, hands down, we have, I think, 7 film ranches just in the Santa Fe area where, iconic Westerns have been made and new Westerns are being made all the time. But I think we've actually done, I think we're punching above our weight with the other states. And one of the things that we do there also is we have a film partner program, and that's one of the things that we're doing to sort of try to stabilize this and incentivize and encourage companies to stay in New Mexico and shoot in New Mexico. Netflix was our first partner, and that agreement means that they've agreed to make over the course of 10 years, $200 million a year, so $2 billion in the state. And NBC Universal followed with a similar deal. And then we have a film partner in Las Cruces called A28 Productions. And all of those deals have a capital component, so we're asking them to invest in the infrastructure, so building stages. Those film partners then have an interest, right, a vested interest in in shooting in New Mexico and working with us. So in exchange for that investment, they get a little better deal. So there's film partner benefits that allow them to get a little better payback on the incentive.
I mean, Netflix is investing heavily in the Southwest. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, they bought a studio that had been built in Albuquerque, but then they invested heavily. They built an additional 12 stages. I think they have a total of 12 stages, plus a backlot. They just did the Duffer Brothers' new series there and built out a backlot for that. They're the
guys with Stranger Things guys.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which hasn't debuted yet, but we hope to have them come back. All of the sets are on ice there. And they built a ton of mill space, so there's a lot of room to build your sets and props, gold rooms, and lots of room out there. Beautiful offices. Very innovative green initiatives. They have a geothermal component to their building, and they've gone heavy in solar. So all of those things make it a great place to shoot. They do their own productions there, obviously, but they also rent the space out.
Well, I guess my question would be, and maybe it has to do about the incentive structure and the deal that you did with them, but why would Netflix, in principle, want to build in New Mexico? The headquarters of a company are in Northern and Southern California. So I'm sure California is very disappointed to have lost that for sure, right? But what is it about, what made that deal happen?
Well, I think it was a number of things. First, it was a great deal, and we offered them, a very
favorable.
A very nice package to do that for 10 years. But also, I think it underscores what we bring as a state. I mean, they were already producing there. They knew the crews that we had. They knew the infrastructure that we have, and it was both less expensive than doing that deal in California, but it was also they knew it worked, right? And it worked we want the business there, and location fees, if you're shooting on location, are less. Permits are easy, and sometimes cost nothing. Everyone is eager to do to have film there. And I mean, I lived in LA for 20 years. I grumbled every day. I drove by the yellow signs and was late to work, and totally understood the people that would, start their lawnmowers and wait for the $50 payment for them to stop. New Mexico is not that way. New Mexico wants film there, wants people,
Okay, by the way, I am not a producer, so that's not a thing that I'm aware of. That people start their lawnmowers on purpose to get paid off by the production.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
When I worked in LA, I had petty cash in my pocket to keep the
gardeners,
the leaf blowers to run our sound. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they go away for the day. I'm not saying that doesn't happen everywhere, but it's.
Well, you don't have any leaves in New Mexico, do you?
There is that. Yeah. No, it's. I think the point I'm making is that it's still, and not that California doesn't want the production, but it's a very welcoming place to do business.
Well, honestly, I'm not asking you to critique California, because we, just as a news organization, are constantly critiquing California, and our readers are telling us about the costs. So we just did a live stream roundtable with the Film Commissioner of California and the guy who's writing this legislation to increase the tax credit, and streaming on the side are the comments of producers who are just in pain, or just talking about the challenges they're facing, the prices of film permits, and the bureaucracy and stuff, which should not exist in Los Angeles. I mean, in my opinion, but anyway, and I think people at the top are aware of it, but they have not fixed it. So it is an opportunity. Let's talk about Trump's tariffs on movies, and let's talk about the alternative to that, which apparently John Voight brought Trump, which has to do with a federal tax incentives. What is your take on having tariffs? Do you think it's even possible to impose tariffs on international productions? And then secondarily, let's talk about the idea of a federal incentive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been pretty thoroughly discussed in your publication and others, and lots of folks with questions about how that could even be implemented, and really what the target of that is. Is it domestic producers that are shooting internationally? I think that's really what they were talking about. But tariffs I would suppose, would affect foreign productions that are shot and brought into the country. So I don't see a way to implement that. Be interesting.
So in other words, if you have a film that's shot in, say, Hungary or,
right.
I don't know, Budapest, whatever, the Czech Republic or wherever, there's a lot of movies that are shot there, or in Northern Europe. You're saying the whole movie would just, if it's a foreign film, would just get tariffed?
Yeah, I just don't know how you would do that. I mean, that I understand.
You could. You just say, movie tickets then we're going to cost twice as much for a foreign film. It just seems kind of,
yeah.
I don't get that.
But I think the important thing that came out of that is a national discussion about where we are in the film industry. And I think it's not hyperbolic to say it's an existential crisis. I think I've seen comments, I've seen columns about liking it to the car industry, to Detroit, and it's very similar. So I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't really know policy well enough to understand how a national incentive would work. But if it were stacked, if it were anything that increases domestic production for us is good, because as I said, we're very competitive among the states. So if it means that there's more work being done in the U.S., it's good for us.
Well, I think that's a thing that is really worth exploring, because I think it was previously considered a non-starter. And certainly for Republicans to embrace that idea, it seems so odd to me. I can't really get my head around how the Trump administration, which is in the business of punishing blue states whenever possible, would possibly spend money when they're trying to cut every program, including, Meals on Wheels, to help, the liberals in California, or the liberals in New Mexico, if you have any.
We're a blue state. So, yeah, I think for that reason, I hate to speculate on it, because it seems like a very long road to get there. But again, the conversation, the fact that it is a problem, and it's one of our biggest exports in the U.S. is film and television, and we dominate culture that way worldwide by what we create here. And so I think it's important to maintain that, and having that conversation about it, whether it's tariffs or an incentive or something else someone hasn't thought of yet, it's at least getting people to think about how to do that. And I think that's important.
So I do want to touch on AI a bit, because I was just speaking to one of our critics who was explaining to me that the film that we saw this morning, one of the films we saw this week, was done mostly CG. It was like visual effects. I'm trying to think of which film it was, because I was surprised to learn it. Are we moving into a place where it doesn't matter, that you have spectacular natural landscapes, because you can create all of that in the computer now? And AI takes you, obviously we've had the CG and visual effects that have been incredible for many years, and now AI just kind of makes it cheaper and faster. What are your thoughts about that?
We're going back to the crystal ball I don't have. But right now it's an amazing tool. And one of the things that we do as a state is encourage independent filmmakers. There's no minimum spend in New Mexico.
Oh, really?
So we have a lot of 2-3 million, some sub-million productions there because of that. And I think it's going to help those folks a lot because they'll be able to do even simple post-production things like ADR, matching the voice replacement when you do, somebody flubs a line or you need to add a line or something like that, and making the lips match is possible right now. You run an AI application on it. It matches the lips to the, So that's something that wasn't even really possible except for really big productions. But that's just a little piece. There's audio sweeteners and lots of things that are being done in post right now that are available to smaller productions that make them compete on a larger stage. And so I think it's going to take less capital, less money to do. And what I hope that does is spur stories that haven't been able to be told because now you can do them for less. Back to your question, though, I think the landscapes is certainly one of the things we lean on in New Mexico. Sure. As you mentioned, that's been available as a VFX thing in the past, and yet people still come to shoot there. There's no doubt that that's going to change over the next, I don't know how many years, 10 years?
But months, might be months. I
Yes.
don't know, at the rate things are going, sometimes it feels like it's not even a year's thing, but who knows?
Yeah, and one of the things we're talking about a lot in the state is what that means for jobs. It's even small productions have 40 people on the crew. The big productions might have 200 people on the crew. And those are people with, mortgages and families. And so we're trying to understand how we can position our workforce to be able to not only be prepared for AI, but to benefit from it. So New Mexico has a very strong, we have 2 national labs there. We have a lot of really smart people and engineers. And there's work being done. We're one of the leading places for quantum computing. I think there's probably a crossover there, and that's what we're looking at, is to try to find space to innovate in AI in New Mexico and invite companies to come in and work with us on that. So I don't know what that looks like, but we want to be driving it instead of following.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I asked the question without having even much knowledge of what that looks like, and we have been trying to get our heads around it for a couple of years now, and there's some more clarity, but there's not a lot, and but it does feel like in 5 years from now, production will look very different. A lot of things will look
Absolutely.
very different.
Yeah. And that'll be a shakeout. It's going to be we'll
Yet
have
another.
to figure it out. Well, I think that's why the conversation about runaway production is so critical right now, because we see this other storm coming, and we're already, embattled. So is that a word? We're battered.
Battered and embattled. You created
Thank
a new
you.
word, both
Yes.
those things. Are there any questions about production? Any producers who want advice or tips or?
You mentioned that Netflix has implemented a lot of kind of green energy infrastructure in their studios in New Mexico. Curious if New Mexico offers, green energy incentives on top of these film-specific incentives.
Funny you should mention that. We're working on that. We have when the press release came out from Netflix, they just did a I forgot which film it was, but they just did a pilot program where they had in base camp all of the trucks had solar panels on it, and instead of running generators in base camp, they weren't running anything. They had batteries there, and they have a long-term plan to get away from fossil fuels entirely. And New Mexico is a very sunny state, and that's I made a call after that press release came out to we're part of economic development in the state, and there are incentives and subsidies for solar energy. But not specifically for film. So it's something we're looking into. So
Cool.
Oh, it was Ransom Canyon, which was a Netflix series. Thank you.
What about it?
That was the production where they piloted this, the solar energy. It's a focus for them. It's actually several studios have a person who's in charge of those initiatives, and we'll be working with all of them. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm a New Mexico native, but live here now. And sometimes I can see New Mexico backgrounds in films that just come up on Netflix or whatever, and it's always so exciting for me to see what are some of the best or different locations that New Mexico offers, because it's not just deserts, right? There's a lot of things.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, it's when you think of New Mexico, you often, in fact, there was a producer here who was saying we have a desert movie that we're making, and so we should be thinking about New Mexico. Yes, you should. If you've seen Breaking Bad, you've seen those deserts. If you've seen westerns in the last 100 years, you've seen New Mexico on screen. However, like we live in Santa Fe. Santa Fe is a mountain town, which you might not think of. We have a ski resort. We're not far from Taos, so there's lots of great mountains. The bottom of the Rocky Mountains come into New Mexico. We have beautiful lakes. We have I really need to look this stat up. There's like 7 biomes or something in New Mexico. So there's everything from desert up through deciduous forests and things like that. So.
Yeah, I don't think that most people would know that, actually.
You don't think of it. Yeah, I mean, I say Santa Fe. Actually, when I say Santa Fe and Can, people go, "Oh, the art." Yeah, I understand Santa Fe. Yeah. Other places I say Santa Fe, it's a Hyundai or it's a sandwich at Carl's Jr. We're more than that. But there's a lot of different looks in New Mexico. So we've doubled, and we have Albuquerque's a pretty big city, and have. We can double for a New York alley and for Mars. So there's, it's pretty diverse.
That's a big range, yeah.
It is.
Okay. Well, thank you, Stephen Graham, so much for coming and talking about production. We're all hoping that production is able to come back to the United States, first of all, and New Mexico as well, for sure. I mean, that's anywhere kind of west of the Mississippi, I'm in favor of. So.
Well, and we're here also with other film commissioners, and it's very much it's a group who wants to help each other. We just want film to be.
Is that so? That's what I was kind of wondering, if you're competing with California and Colorado and Utah, and
it's a friendly competition.
It is a friendly competition, because the truth is, if you could kind of find a way to work together, and if there is a proposal for a federal tax incentive, then you guys will actually have to work together. But because that is the biggest problem right now, so I think bring it back.
Yeah, we're members with both AFCI, which is the Association of Film Commissioners, Film Commissioners International, and Film USA Film, which is a subset of that is all about filming in the USA. Yeah. I mean, it's to our benefit if someone's reaching out, we want to find the best way to make that film for them. Obviously, we want them to be in New Mexico. But if they shoot in, for instance, we were on a panel with Texas, with Houston, and if they go to the beach there, because that's where they need to be, they're still in our area, and they may come and shoot here anyway, or in New Mexico anyway. Yeah. So I think it's a friendly competition. It's fun.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, one more, yeah. Paul, hi.
Hi, Sharon. I have just a couple of comments. The first one on the federal incentive. When I woke up that morning and I read about the tariffs, my first thoughts were, well, this is not going to work. I mean, the reason is to boost up film production, television production in the United States. And the thing for that is a federal incentive or subsidy. And then I thought, well, wait a second. With this government, for that, they would insist on approving the scripts.
You
before
think?
They would get. Well, let's put it this way. A film that I did is scheduled to play at the Kennedy Center on June 4th.
What is it? Tell us about it.
Amadeus,
Oh, Amadeus is fine.
live with an orchestra and a choir.
Yeah.
And this was scheduled for a year and a half. And they decided we're going to go ahead and do it. And I said, great, I'll do my introduction. And obviously, the new heads of the Kennedy Center looked at my social media and said, no, we're not allowing you to do an introduction.
So have you pulled the film?
No, not going to pull the film. Because I actually was upset that some of the trustees resigned, because when there's a bully, you stay and you fight the bully. You don't resign, make him fire you. So, no, the film will, as far as I know, it's still going to be there. But I'm
So
not
for
going to be there.
those who don't know, this is Paul Zantz. He has produced many incredible film at the Zantz Company. Is that what it's?
Yes.
Is that the right
Yes.
the right name? Give us the titles of some of the most important films. Amadeus is a very big one.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The English Patient, Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Which you shot, which were almost all of those. Well, one Cuckoo's Nest was shot in the United States, but
Yeah, the rest.
you would shoot Amadeus in Europe, though. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah.
And Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Yes.
I'm playing the
Kundera.
fields of the Lord. But another thing about AI taking over, I remember when we were shooting The English Patient in the Sahara in December of '95.
was that Morocco? Where were you?
Tunisia.
Tunisia. Mm-hmm.
And we were there one after. It was Kristen Scott Thomas, Ray Fiennes, and I passing around sections of the New York Times that somebody had brought over. And all of a sudden, Kristen starts screaming, "What's the matter?" Well, and I'm not going to use his name, this major director, he's writing that in 5 years, films will never go on location because it'll all be green screen, we'll all be in studios. And we haven't filmed in 2 days, and I still got the sand in my hair. How does he think we act on a real location or against the green screen? It affects our craft.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. You know, if you want to get the best performances and have that very unique experience of being a small and intimate group on a set, I mean, I'm just projecting here, but you think that that's valuable as opposed to recreating it in a
I think
computer.
it's very valuable, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and there's something to that you'll see, I think. I mean, there's still, folks still shoot on film. It's arguable whether that's, you can tell, but, for sure, performances are something that are uniquely human. And so I hope that continues. So.
I mean, you bring up a very scary point, though, to think about, the carrot that would be dangled of federal money to keep production here at the cost of censorship and freedom of expression. I don't know. Maybe there are people who would take that money. I guess there are people who would take that money.
Well,
What am I talking about?
we're screening Cuckoo's Nest here on Wednesday night, and I decided I'm incorporating my Kennedy Center speech on Amadeus into my Cuckoo's Nest speech here. And of course, the festival said, go for it.
Well, you'll send me a copy because maybe we'll print it, Paul. Well, go ahead.
You could see it in LA on June 13th. You're going to
I'm
be
coming.
there, right?
No,
You're
I'm going to see it
there.
in LA. Yes, no, I am going to go see it
No,
in LA.
I'll do the same speech, basically.
Okay, that's fine. And wherever it's being heard, I want to see the speech. Anyway, as you can all see, we have an interesting group of people in the room. But Stephen, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
And enjoy your con.